We are recording, Captain.
Perfect. I'm going to call to order the Hopkinton Building Committee meeting at 4:31. Today, present with us is Jay Burgess. I'm Norm Gupel, Rob Nato, Steve Chamberlain, Michelle Clark, Bill Carosa. Is Amy Doyle here? No, doesn't look like she's here. And we have Chris Kelly here. Do we have someone taking the minutes?
Yeah, Bill, will you take minutes for us tonight, Billy Carosa?
You bet. Be honored.
Thank you.
Perfect.
And no, I think GB is Gordon Bristol.
Okay.
That's me. Can you hear me?
Perfect. It's Gordon, and then the team is Gordon with Rachel, and we have Bill Hickey, and we have Doug Proctor, and BPS is here. As normal, we are working under the emergency from the state, from the governor, where this meeting has been posted in multiple locations and sent out to our community, and this meeting is being recorded, and minutes will be taken and will be posted at a later date. So we do not have any minutes to approve. That will be done at a later time, which is fine because we have quite a bit to go through. So we're just going to move right down through the agenda. So the first thing we're going to discuss is school building aid. I had asked Steve and Michelle and a fellow other team members to do a brief presentation for us to discuss what Hopkinton did regarding school building aid. This would be a great moment for Steve to explain this, and if a community member has any questions on our progress or what we've done for that, they can come back and look at this video and get some intel on it. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve.
Sure. Happy to do it. I'll try. Amy just popped. And Doug, Bill, Michelle, anybody who, if you think I am stepping over, or Jay, or going in the wrong direction on building aid, I certainly respect all the knowledge on the Zoom call. But I'll try to give just a process of where we were and how we, the building aid process for us. So just a couple of things. So in 1997, the school district approved a project. It was a $6.7 million project, 2-school renovation, and received building aid. And back then, building aid was an entitlement. That means every school district that got town approval was entitled to building aid. It wasn't means tested. It was you pass it from the town and you got building aid. And Hopkinton got to, Michelle, remember, about $500 and something thousand a year. I remember when it disappeared, we tried to go hand in glove with this project, but we just didn't catch that lightning in that bottle. And it amounted to be, I remember it was described to me as pretty much like the interest on the bond. So the state would pay the interest and the community would pay the bond. And that was a very proud program for the state of New Hampshire up until 2011, when Governor Lynch, through the budget process, stopped building aid. Now, what that meant was it was a moratorium on new projects. So the Hopkinton project, approved in 97, wasn't done yet. Obviously, it was a 20-year bond. So that was the tail. They kept paying old projects, but not any new projects, and that still goes to this day. So we got building aid all the way through until we paid the bond off. And then through significant state budget issues and revenue issues, Governor Lynch ended building aid. That's when he, a year before that, he did the retirement program, ended state support retirement. And it sat there with no new state building aid, but the tail was still being paid. So again, we still got money. It started opening up, or at least the concept of building came back in 2017, at least the application process. So, and I just said to Jay before the meeting, so we started this building project about 2013, looking to go hand in glove when the bond paid off. That was our hope. If everything was perfect, the was a $540,000 all in, but some of that was building aid, that payment, and it would have been hand in glove. And I'll talk about a little hiccup. But Michelle and I were very, very focused about making sure that Hopkinton got in the queue for building aid. And we submitted an application, and there's a folder in support materials. The applications that we submitted in 2017 are there included. Now, it wasn't a complete application, but we were very anxious. And if Michelle remembers, we had internal little bet going, would we qualify for building aid or not? And we would have these friendly discussions. But we submitted an application back then. Actually, it was $23 million. It was $15 million for the high school. And Jay, if you remember, that's when we were moving 6th grade up. And it was $5 million for Harold, thinking that we were going to go to 2 schools, but we still threw about $3 million in deferred maintenance just in case at Maple. So that was so we have applications submitted in 2017 for $23 million worth of building project, but it was not complete because if Jay remember, the board never took a vote on that plan yet, but the building committee, and Dave was on the building committee, and we said, look, we got to get in the queue. And then we were down to 860 in enrollment. That's when we spent a lot of energy on a school consolidation program. Concord had done it. Concord had closed a lot of schools. I talked to some administrators there. I talked to Dr. Rath. I talked to Sue Noyes, if Bill remembers her, about how you did it and how we consolidated and said, look, we were declining enrollment. So for a long time, when we dealt with Harriman, we were looking at closing Maple. Do you remember at a school district meeting, people actually talked about what we were going to do to repurpose Jay? Do you remember that? We talked about that, and community members said, oh, let's do a think tank, or let's have it for senior housing. And we actually had a subcommittee looking at repurposing Maple Street School in this work. But as I always like to say, when the superintendent talks about closing schools, what happens, the enrollment busted. So when 860, Jay, if you remember, it went over 950 pretty quick, and we pivoted. So that application of 23 million was no longer valid because that was really a 2-school project. And we pivoted for a year and took a look at a 3-school project. And in order to have a complete building aid application, you have to have a board action. So the next board action was January of 2018, and that was a $29 million project. And then because we had a board action, if we hit the timeline, we then could have applied for building aid. But as Jay would remember, and many people would remember, the board rescinded that action about 2 weeks later. So we did not have, in 18, we did not have a board adopted building project. But with Jay, if you remember, we went to that school district meeting. You spoke for quite a while, and that's when we did a survey. And that survey tried to find the sweet spot. And the survey said we would have, believe it or not, the survey said we'd have 72% at 10 million. And Jay, if you remember that summer, you, Dave, and I met very often and tried to look at, and we talked to people trying to move a $29 million project into a $10 million project. And so still no affirmed board action, no ability to apply for building aid because you have to have board action for building aid. So over the summer, we got some new pricing. It was late, but it was like September. And then from September of 2018 to January of 2019, and Michelle and Bill will remember, Amy would remember, we did board meetings on the go. Remember, Bill, we had a meeting at Harold Martin School. We had a meeting at Maple Street School. We had a meeting at the high school. We did tours. And it was the first week of January of 2019 that the board adopted a $9.7 million project. And right after that, Michelle Clark contacted Amy Clark saying, can we apply for building aid? We now have a complete application. We know the scopes and we know what the board action. And the application period for 2020 had closed. And we have correspondence that the timeline was not open. So the board action of January 2019 came after the window of applications for 2020 building projects. Now, so a couple of things that, and I spent some time with Jim O'Brien this afternoon just going through this process. And one thing we know for sure, the board was not ready until that first week of January to support a building project. We spent the 4 months, September, October, November, December, working really hard, getting a lot of feedback. And they were ready and they did adopt a project in the first week of January. And that was really the only time that they were ready enough to complete the project. But again, the window of application was closed. Now, I am not depressed. I didn't lose sleep about that. That didn't get a lot of angst. because there's about $650 million worth of projects in the queue for the state of New Hampshire. And there's only been 5 projects awarded for building aid. And if you look in the support materials on the website, those projects are there. And one of the applications are invalid if the project has already started. So for example, Newmarket, $39 million project, no building aid. Salem, $100 million, no building aid, because this program started and it began before the building aid opened. So that notion, so that happened to a lot of districts, and Michelle and I were going right with Oyster River and Durham was going through the same type of timeline. If you look at so what happened, they changed building aid from an entitlement, where every district got it, to an application and a scoring based on the demographics or the needs of the community. And if you look at, I put the application of the scoring rubric in the folder, and the largest number is 200 points, and that's your free and reduced lunch. So even if the timing was perfect with $680 million in the queue, I'm very skeptical that Hopkinton would have qualified under this scoring rubric, because it is no longer an entitlement. It is now a means-tested process. And remember, only 4 or 5 projects got approved for this iteration of building aid. And if you read the projects and you go through, it was significant need, even, believe it or not, more drastic need than us. We're talking about a school without an elevator. Didn't even have an elevator. You're not trying to fix an elevator. So that is, please know we have Michelle was diligent in every stage of this project, communicating with the DOE. Can we submit an application? And when they change it to a 2-year biennium application process, our window closed. But we did submit an application early. We had board action on a $29 million that was rescinded. We had board action on a $9.7 million. And as soon as that was done, we reached out and said the application window was closed for an FY20 start. And right now they're looking at FY21, through FY23. And one of the disqualifying factors is, has the construction already started? And we're glad to report, right, we have construction already started. So, and please, Gordon, Doug, Bill, anybody else, if there's anything that you think was factually incorrect there, I'm not married to this. This is my best recollection, and Jay, my best recollection in research and going through a lot of emails and a lot of stuff. But we tried to get building aid. We took our time and deliberate, trying to make sure the board was adopted. Oh, one last thing I want to say is not every single project qualifies for building aid, because some of the deferred maintenance, somewhat, it can be in a massive renovation, but some of it is not. The state doesn't believe they need to pick up some deferred maintenance. Michelle, did I miss anything? Doug, Bill, anything there that you're cringing, say, Steve really missed this one? Because I really don't mind. We really want to be transparent about this. This is my best attempt at summarizing our work on this in an honest and transparent way.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, we just went through an application with Allenstown, and they're likely going to qualify, but they're only funding 2 or 3 projects a year now, and it's not a lot of money.
Right.
And I think
it's like 2.
And Doug, I think you said Peter Warburton to me. The superintendent at Allenstown, I spent some time with and talked about his application. And I sent him the scoring rubric, and he was very excited by some of the demographic scores that are a little bit different than the profile of Hop.
Right, because he has a lot of free and reduced lunch in his, so he automatically got 150 points because of that. But
Right.
There's a lot of other issues on that score sheet. And that score sheet's not a secret. It's on the
Yep.
it's on the website, the DOE website. You just got to be able to find the website.
So Norm, that's how we started and went through. We tried. The board went. If you remember that actually you went to a lot of those meetings, Norm, as a community member. I think you were front row in just about every one of those meetings over at Harold Martin.
Yep.
So I think you would attest that was the process.
Yeah, I do remember. And that what you explained, Steve, is very clear and transparent, and I appreciate the history. And for me, I'm comfortable to say that we followed every path we could in order to bring this aid to the district. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to go back and look at our notes and really make it clear to the community on what we did. Does anyone here have any questions for Steve regarding the school building aid?
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to go back and summarize this and go from Michelle just a step by step. But Michelle and I communicate a lot. We did everything we could, and I don't want to belabor it, but it was a good process to go back and track Jay a little bit of our work since 2015. So thanks, everyone.
No, I think it was great. And Candy, if it can wait to public comment, she probably has questions about this. We're gonna move on with the agenda. Hope she's okay with that. Okay, great, awesome. Thank you very much, Steve.
No
All right,
problem.
the next thing we're gonna move on to is review bid results calendar and cost and other documents from HL Turner and BPS since our last meeting. I'm pleased to say a lot has transpired since our last meeting, and I look forward to them sharing with the public what's going on. I'll turn over to them.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Thanks,
Great.
Keith.
So it has been busy. Doug got us all of the plans, and and it's been a little while and a lot of action since we met last. So with Maple Street and Middle High, those bid a couple weeks back, got the results on that, and have been moving forward, forwarding bid recommendations and like that, and working through squaring away scopes and verifying that people can meet schedules and like that on those two projects. Harold Martin, of course, that's the more involved design, took a little more time to get those drawings out, of course, and that went out to bid and is hovering within budget. So I'm happy to report that we had a target of $8,286,000. We're hovering now. I'm still doing my drawing check on Harold Martin, but we're at combined project of 8,158. So we're looking good all around. The only qualification I have there is there's been a lot of talk about all the alternates in general, but especially fire protection at Harold Martin, and that is not included in that number yet. So we're still working on that. We've got a delta there of about 128,000 to the good, and we're hoping to get that fire protection in there.
Great to hear.
So we might, what I'm hoping for is sliding in very close to budget, but including fire protection potentially here.
So I guess the $1 million question, you mentioned 128. When do you think you'll have a number for the alt, the add-on alt number, like the amount wise? Like a number.
For all of the add alternates?
Yeah, like what we have. Yeah.
Working on those now with the drawing check. I'm hoping to have that done probably the first of next week. A couple of those alternates are involved full estimates is part of it. So we'll have and I can share those as they come available. Other alternates in there. There's 8 of them. Some of them are real simple, 1-2 subcontractors involved. Others involve full estimate efforts that are underway. So I'll share those, but those should be wrapped up by the first of next week.
So I guess to go to the discussion you guys had a little bit yesterday, you guys need to have an answer sooner or later on the alts, correct? Because our next...
Yeah, the answer that I think Barry was requesting was just a prioritization on them, possibly, and then we would, because what we're thinking is that as we buy out and as we save money, the intention is to get as many of those wish list items or those alternates in there, and it would be helpful to itemize those. And then what we would take from that, Norm, is we would apply a timeline to them for when we would need to be pulling the trigger throughout the project, so as not to incur additional cost. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So the charge would be then, in my opinion, would be we would have to come up with a recommendation and have the school board approve it next week, and we wouldn't have the numbers until the beginning of next week. And I know we're all stretched for time, but if we made just a one agenda just to discuss this, we could get through it and then move on. But I mean, it seems like we probably would have to bridge a meeting to discuss a recommendation to the board maybe before this. Just thoughts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because we can't say we want to go with fire suppression without talking to the board. We have to make a recommendation to them, and then once they approve or give them a list of what's possible with the flexibility, that would probably be the best way to go. That way we can have the agreement of the other board members.
When will we get a fire number?
A which number?
Fire suppression at Harold. Do we have that number yet? How much it's going to cost?
We've got that's looking like it's around 150. But then we've got the cistern too, so I've got to play with that a little bit, Steve. Those are the things we're working through now.
Gotcha. So we don't have a total cost yet of the fire protection system at Harold.
No, nope. That's what we're putting together now. And when I say we're working on those alternates, we're assembling those numbers of fire protection, cistern, pumps, pump house, the hooking up of the well and like that to the cistern and taking care of that. And then also that particular alternate is staged as well, where we'll be providing piping for the fire suppression and then adding the pump and the accessories to make it fully functional.
So it doesn't make any sense to meet, right, Norm, until we have all the numbers.
No, we would need to have all the numbers. I just want to make sure that we're staying within the cost structure, so there's no additional costs regarding that. I don't want to make a special board meeting just to discuss this. We've had quite a bit in the last couple months, Rob, right?
I think what you're going to need is a special one of this committee to go over it first.
Correct.
And then
we would make a recommendation.
Yeah.
We'd make a recommendation to them.
I think the important thing, and I see we have a large audience on board, is the important thing of today is this is the famous day that we've been waiting for, that are we going to be able to build this project? What was promised to the public back when the bond was done? So the summation is what was promised to the public, are we going to be able to do? And we didn't know till we had all three schools' figures in. We now have them in, and we are saying we now have a project that's essentially on schedule and on budget. And on budget meaning that we had a $9.7 million budget, and right about now we're spending 9.7 of that. What we're now looking at is the economies of scale with the three phases. We have the cistern and the water suppression to put in. But this is a good day that we could be sitting here having a meeting and say, gee, we're at $10.5 million. What do we do? Yeah. So this is the good day, and what we're going to be adding on, we're going to do slowly because it's a matter of your priorities. And I know Jay Burgess has been good at holding our feet to the fire on that. That fire suppression was a major priority, and that could use up quite a bit of our subjective money.
Agreed. Yeah, and you are right, Gordon. It is an exciting day. This whole project's been going great, and to be under, as of right now, or equal to, is important to this town. So I guess real quickly, just to go back to it, I know I'm not trying to do the add-on. I just want to make sure we're sticking on to. I'm just going by the email and discussion that was notified about the urgency of determining that. I'm not trying to rush things. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with the scope. So it's not something that's needed right away. We can discuss it.
When do we need that? The decision on the priority of the rank order of alts, so we don't hold you guys up.
I think Barry was, when he was talking about prioritizing them. He was thinking more of within the next month. So that
Okay.
as we move forward, it wasn't a this week kind of thing. It was we've got a little bit of time to put that together, and then if you guys had that hashed out in a month, we could apply timelines to that and start working towards your goals on it.
It's just more a general overview of what, so we know what you're thinking as far as priorities, so that we can anticipate with the work that we're doing right now. So,
Okay.
and
That's much clearer.
I have the alternate list here, but I think we should have a little meeting just to go over them so that you guys understand what they all mean exactly. Because the alternate list is very brief, and the contractors go through the drawings to understand them, but you wouldn't understand the whole alternate without me explaining it to you. So, and there's like 20 of them, or 25.
Well, I'm happy to hear we don't have to make a decision next week, that we can take our time. So that's great to hear. Back to you, BPS. Do you have anything else you want to discuss?
No, I think Gordon's right. It was good news. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Happy we're where we are. The bid was for Harold Martin was well attended, like the other two were, and kind of couldn't be happier with it at the moment.
Or may I add something quickly on this? I don't want to have this go to Doug's head, but if you recollect, the two issues that we saw or we heard from the community when we were putting this project together was fire suppression at Harold Martin and what we called the fifth classroom, which would have netted us 4. Because of the design that Doug put forward, we were able to get that 4th classroom in, and what I would say, it wouldn't be fair to say no cost, but as part of the project, we were able to get that 4th classroom in, which was I think a huge win for us, because if we look at just the square footage cost on our conceptual plans that we had to develop the proposal that we brought forward to the community in 2019, it only included 3 classrooms. So again, my hat's off to Doug for pulling that off so that we could get that 4th classroom in and not have it affect the project in a negative way. So if we look at both fire suppression and the 4th classroom, that was really the extent of the wish list that we had when we went into this. So I think anything on top of that would be great. So thanks, Doug, for doing that. I think it's a nice design, and it's better than we had when we first put this together.
Well said, Jay.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jay, for bringing that up. We'll have to deal with Doug later.
Does anyone have any questions for BPS? All right. HL Turner, do you have any updates you'd like to provide for this meeting?
I don't really think so. I mean, we have started construction, so we're attending to BPS's needs in the field as we go through some demolition and some other things, and just confirm what we're doing. But that's really the mode that we're in right now. I think I showed all the drawings last time, and we issued we did get state fire marshal approval for HMHS and Maple Street. And we have a couple of questions we need to answer for them on Harold Martin, and we'll be sending that off to them in the next day or two, but they'll probably turn around real quick and give us an approval, I would think. So that's where we are.
And again, not to downplay that, that's a big accomplishment. The state's fire marshal approval has caused heartache for many schools. So again, we'll take the victories when we get them, and that's a major one. And thank you, H.L. Turner.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, we also sat with the local fire chief yesterday and went through all the drawings and everything, and he had a couple of comments that I don't think they will end up being a cost to the project. It's just, where we end up putting things. So we'll just take care of those as we go.
Awesome. Gordon, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think things are getting well on site, underway very well, and BPS is, the first meeting is any indicator we're going to be underway well. So again, we'll relish in the happy days. There'll be some blips along the way, but for right now, it's really starting out nicely.
I'm going to say one thing, actually. I'm not going to go rogue on you guys, but no, I just want to say that the communication from this team has been great. I've seen the correspondence. I've seen the stuff uploaded into the Procore. Is that what it was? And I just want to say, very, very pleased with the communications between everyone here and yesterday's meeting out there. I was really pleased. It's been great to meet still, of course, to go over some things. But, we have our weekly meeting as a team on Friday, which now will be on Monday. I just want to say it's been going really well, and the communication from Steve to Michelle and BPS, Gordon, you, and HL Turner, I've been very pleased with the communication between all of us. And, as a school board member and as a community member, very happy with it. And of course, Jay too. It's just been really great to see that we're organized and we're maximizing, this project for this town. And Monday felt like a celebration day for me. Being able to see things starting to go and to be able to experience that long work together. What, 5 years you guys said, Steve, it started with Jay and you?
Yeah, and a couple years before that, we did listening posts and we did tours, pizza Fridays and all that stuff.
So we should have balloons and cake today, because this is something that's important for us to recognize that we're getting there. It's going to be a couple of years to finish this about. I just want to let you guys know that, I oversee a lot of things. Just, I like to be part of things. And I just got to say I'm very pleased. And I want to thank everyone here for making it possible. All right.
Can I add one thing again real quick?
Sure. Go for it.
Things that I'm doing keep popping into my head. But I did get some questions yesterday about colors in the school and things. So what we've done is we have a general color scheme going, but what we were doing, since we're in a compressed mode for time over the summer, we sent those colors to the subcontractors so they could tell us if those colors are readily available, because sometimes when you're working with different tiles and things, they have enough of one color, but they don't have enough of another one. So we've gotten information back on that, and what we'll be doing is assembling some color boards for Maple Street and the high school and presenting that stuff next week. I'm not exactly sure when next week, but I'm hoping early next week. So just to answer some people's concerns.
And Doug, we had talked a while back back when we were all together at Harold Martin about visiting Auburn and getting some ideas. Is that still something we might be able to do?
Yeah, we could try to. I actually have a meeting with them Thursday morning, and I can talk to them about setting up a visit. Right now, the school's empty. They do have a little bit of construction work going on, and I don't think it's a problem getting in there and going through.
Good.
So.
Well, I'd love to go just because I like schools. You don't need my advice on colors, that's for sure. But I love to look at new.
Let's do it.
No, I won't. I won't input on color.
Let's make it a COVID party. We'll be socially appropriate.
Well, you also get to see some of the materials that you're getting, like the flooring and different things like that. So.
And I can look at bathrooms, right, Doug?
Yeah, you can look at bathrooms with no doors.
I was gonna say that, but I wanted to be respectful, and that's great. Awesome. Does anyone else have any other comments to talk about real quick within this topic? Awesome. Great job, team. Great job All right, I'm going to turn over to Michelle for the financial report. Michelle?
Sure. So on the Google Drive, you'll see the financial report. It's actually as of June 18th, because when we actually do all the end of year stuff, which we're currently working on, there's invoices that we received that actually is for work done in, we just got one recently that was May. So we'll get others. So, but at this point, we've spent a little over $508,000.
And
And so
Michelle,
that,
this month you were supposed to get a draw from BPS, and we had projected 300,000. But in talking with Barrett yesterday, they're not going to have one this month, so that will help your cash flow a little bit. And by then, the bond money will be at our door. So I'm still under the impression that we're not going to be getting a draw from BPS this month.
Okay, great, thanks. And then Gordon, just at some point, can we just talk, because I don't have encumbered yet the money that we're paying BPS for other providers. So all I have is just their money encumbered. So there's a big chunk that still has to be encumbered. And so I just want to work through that with you, because obviously this is my first building project. So.
Sure. Well, you and I will talk offline then. No problem.
so Michelle, so 508 came out of our general fund, and then I'll be replenished with the bond. It's basically how it's going to happen.
Right. So what happens is it's a due to, due from right now. And so every single time we have a new expense, I have to also send that information to our bond counsel, because at some point there will be a check that will come back to the district. I believe we're going to hopefully be able to set it up in our system for future ones once we have the money to just get directly taken out of the new account that has been set up for the bond proceeds to go directly into that account.
Okay. That makes sense. Does anyone here have any questions for Michelle? We are cruising along today, guys. This is great.
Just Michelle, before now in our next meeting, you will have the bond results, and that's approximately what date? So that the
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about it when, I think that might be the next thing on the agenda. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Because I think we already talked about the prioritizing, right?
Yes. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna skip 6 because that's something at a later date. So now we're gonna go to the bond update.
So next Tuesday is the sale. So then the results get mailed out to us next Friday. So probably by, I don't know if they call also, but anyways, I would say by the 20th, I think is a Monday.
That's exciting. I'm starting. That's a little exciting, Miss Clark.
Oh yes, no, it is.
We've been talking about bond runs and bond scenarios, you and I, for years, and it's going to come to one way or another. It's going to be over.
Absolutely, and then we get the proceeds wired into the account that we created on August 12th.
But that's next. So next Friday, if we get a call, or a week from Monday, we get it in writing. But that's really exciting.
Yeah.
That, and as these guys said the other day, that by September 1, if weather permitting, the maple and the high school roof will be tight.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really exciting to me as well.
I'm more excited. You know about those, love those roofs being taken care of. That's great. So August 12th, we'll get 5 million, correct? That'd be the plan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, 5 million. And then 500 go back to the school, then 4.5, and then bond it out 5. Okay, got it. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle regarding the bond update? This is great. I have no other questions. All right. We're just cruising along. This is good. Do the public have any questions or comments they'd like to ask? This would be the time to raise your hand. And okay, so we have no public comment for this meeting. So our next plan, as of right now, would be an August 4th meeting. Based on our discussion, there is no rush for the alternates, which is great. If something changes in BPS and HL Turn needs something sooner, just to let us know, and we can figure something out. Other than that, does anyone have any other business they'd like to discuss? Okay, great. I wish everyone a good rest of the week. Great job with everybody, and meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Norm. Good work. Good work, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.